Hi, Charmaine.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm just waiting for the final excellent presentation come in.
Great.
And let's see. So you got a few minutes. Why don't you wait till we get about 12 people or so
Okay.
and get started? Because then people will join a little bit later. And don't forget to record. Oh, you're recording already? All right. And when you're not speaking, go ahead and mute yourself when you're not
Okay.
speaking. Just as a general rule, that's probably a good practice. So if you sneeze or something, or somebody comes in, but that's pretty good thing. So we're going to learn about Nearpod, which we can't learn enough about. So I'm glad that you're doing it.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have 12 people with us. Please bear with me. I know I'm the last presentation, so if you could just hold on and bear with me, I promise I will get you through it as soon as possible. So tonight, my presentation is all about Nearpod, which is very similar to some of the other things that we've learned, but there are different ways to use it. So I did want to present it. It's something that I do use in my classes. I find it useful because you can add various aspects of media all in one presentation, and I don't have to go back and forth between some of the things that I have to find that are included as part of my textbook, but they give me links to find certain things. So it makes it easier. Okay. What I actually did was I created a Nearpod. So part of my homework assignment was to ask people to download Nearpod You can go through a computer, tablet, or phone. Usually when I'm doing it as a teacher, I like to have both. So I have it downloaded on my phone, and I usually go in as a student on my phone, and then I go through the computer while I'm trying to create the Nearpod and preview it. So if everyone could go to the Nearpod app, if you did download it. And when you get to the site, you're actually going to put in a code, and the code is UAMVH. And if you don't remember, it's up here in this top left corner, UAMVH. No cool acronyms like Pear Deck, but letters nonetheless. Thanks, Dom. Okay, so while everyone hopefully is pulling up the app, and if anyone is having difficulty, please let me know. Just put it in the chat, and I'll try to walk you through it as best I can. But tonight, my plan is to walk you through a live lesson on the creation of Nearpods, to learn about the live versus the student-paced lesson, to see how to insert various media aspects to a Nearpod presentation, and then to walk you through the outside, so what you would see prior to seeing the live. So if at any point I'm going too fast, please just let me know, and if you have any questions. Okay, so it's telling me I have 8 participants, so hopefully you can all see my screen. Raise your hand for me if you can. Okay, I got Courtney, Dom, Kathleen, Sarah, Chris. Okay, okay.
Charmaine, real quick.
Yes.
Does that code stay on your screen, or do you want to type that in a chat box? That way everyone can get in when they sign in.
It actually does stay on the screen.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Okay, so perfect. You see down here in the corner, it tells you how many participants you have. So we have 11. And while the screen is green, it actually shows you that people are actually in the Nearpod presentation. So I find it good for classroom management in that way, because it'll turn red when someone's outside of the presentation. So you can click that box and find out who it is. So I'm going to go through. And I started with actually a question. So it has everyone's names the way you presented them. And the question is, have you heard of Nearpod before? So you're just going to go ahead and you can put your answer in, and it'll start to form the circle as it gets to 100%. So as you're teaching your class, you could have whatever the question is if you wanted to stop at a certain point to check for comprehension, or to check and see if there's an answer to a math question that you were giving, and you'll see whether or not students got it right, because you could actually program the answers versus yes or no and no answer. Okay, so the majority of you have heard of Nearpod, so I apologize that this presentation might be a little boring for you. I know Steve had asked because he was interested, so that's kind of how this came about. So I hope this is helpful for those that have not heard of it. So as you can see, it gives you a percentage of what students said yes, what students said no, but you can also see based off of individual students and the individual answers, what students put in, whether it was A or B. So you could actually stop at that point and discuss maybe how students got the wrong answer, what their rationale was when they were in the process of it. Okay. Have you used Nearpod before? So for those of you, especially since there were so many. Okay, great. So if I get stuck, some of you can help me. Okay. So what I did was I went in and I pretty much did screenshots and put them in as part of the presentation, because this is what you would see if you were actually creating your own Nearpod. So this is the first screen you would see. So up here where you see untitled lesson, you would actually click in the box, you would put whatever the title of your lesson is going to be. You would click on add slide. Once you click on add slide, it's going to open up some options for you. These are the options that you're going to see as far as content. You can add content, and under which you're going to see slide, Nearpod 3D, whatever this simulation is, I'm not familiar with it, BBC video, field trip, which is part of the Nearpod virtual reality, which I am hoping to talk a little bit about. So you also see there's add web content and there's add activity. So if you wanted to add web content, all you would do is you would click that box and you'll see up comes the URL. So you could cut and paste from your browser, you could cut and paste from a link that you may have, and you're going to put it in this box. You're going to click save. If you wanted to add an activity, you have several options. You have an open-ended question. You have a poll, which is what I did for the A and B. You have a quiz. You have draw it, where students can actually draw answers. So individual students would be using their cell phone, so they would be able to draw and you could see the different pictures. And then you have collaborate, which is new. I'm not familiar with that either. Also under activity, you have a fill in the blank and you have a memory test. Okay. At this point, are there any questions? And I believe that this activity I put in as an open-ended question to show you what this would look like. Okay, and you can also share answers. So I'll just choose one and you would share the answer. Hopefully everyone can see that. Okay, and it also tells you up in the corner, there's 69% participation of who's in the class. So you may have a certain percentage that you want to get to. You may not want to wait for everyone to finish, and then you would move on to your next slide. Okay, so we're going to move on. And how do we know that our students are on task? I actually showed that to you earlier by showing you the button down here. So you could click that and it shows you each of the students, how they logged in. You will have time sometimes that your high schoolers will put in whatever their nickname may be. If it's something appropriate, you would let that go. Or if it's something that, they're called outside of their legal documented name, we all have those students. So, and then again, as long as it's green, that lets you know that everyone is in the screen. If it turns red, then you know that someone is outside of it. So you would typically stop. You could either check and see who it is, or you could just make a general announcement that someone's not with us, and typically they would go back to the screen immediately. So I know one of the biggest issues that we have, or one of the concerns as educators, is how do we make sure that our students are on task when we're using so much technology? Especially for our school, we have BYOD. So we don't necessarily have the technology where when you have certain devices, you are able to sync them all together so that you could see that. We have that in our computer labs where we can see what every student is seeing on their screen, and we can shut down or lock their screen. But that's only in the computer lab where you have access to that. Any questions so far? Any comments? Okay. Okay, for classroom management, in the live lesson, the teacher has the ability to see what the student, I'm sorry.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
So the view, like you mentioned the BYOD. So in terms of student interface, how does the cell phone version look compared to the computer version? Do you find that students who are on a phone instead of the computer are able to use it just as well, or?
Yes, I do. I've tried it. Like I said, I've actually gone through and I opened up my phone while students are in the presentation so I could see what it looks like. And it pretty much looks exactly like what you're seeing right now, just smaller.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. So in the live lesson, you have the ability to see whether the students are in the live class, and you can check at any time, as I've already showed you. It says if students choose to change the lesson, it will show them as outside the presentation room. What can you add to your presentations? You can insert text, graphics, videos, other aspects to incorporate a lesson. In a lesson. You can also find prepared lessons on the Nearpod site that can be downloaded. Most of them are free. There are some that needs to be paid for. Usually if your school has an account, I think there are a lot more that are open to you, but there are still some that need to be paid. I know that one of the English teachers uses it quite often. It actually happened that one of our coworkers showed it to us, and there were about maybe 7 of us that were using it on a fairly regular basis. So the following year, our boss did go ahead and get a membership. So there are a lot more of us that use it. And we have a lot more capabilities. I do know, I did look at the pricing so that I could let you know what that is when we're done. How to insert items. So when you go to click an activity, this is the page that would show if you clicked add a slide. So it comes up like this. You can see down here in the circle where it says drop any files here. It can be a picture, it can be any type of picture. You can add text, you can add video. So what I did to create the slides that you're seeing was I just created text, just like a PowerPoint. You can also upload files that you already have on your computer. I included so you could see. This is one of the lessons that you might find on their site that you could download, that you would add to your library, which I'll show you once we get out of the live lesson. I'm going to continue to share my screen so you can see what the actual site looks like without being in a live lesson. So as you can see, it tells you how many slides there are, 1 out of 33. You can click preview. We can't right now because it's part of this. If I wasn't in this screen right now and sharing my screen, we would be able to click the preview button and you could actually go through. And this presentation is on getting to 50-50 as far as gender equality in high school. So I just thought that was a cool presentation when I was going through. This is actually in as a quiz, and I did make a correct answer. So has this presentation changed your mind about using Nearpod in your class? And this is the end of the live lesson. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to show you a couple more features, and then I'm going to go outside of this presentation just to show you what the site itself looks like when you are in the creation mode. Are there any questions? Janae, you have a question? Comment?
Yes, curiosity question. So let's say a student is absent. How does it work in terms of if I create a lesson, is the link just forever active, or is there a limit? Like, would a student have to have that code to access this lesson specifically? Does every lesson have its own code, or?
Yes, every lesson does have its own code, and what you would do is you would not go into this mode, but you would go into student pace lesson. And so they would watch it at their own pace, and it wouldn't be you clicking the buttons to advance the slides. The student would be doing it as they're going through.
And would they still need the code to access it, or just the link?
I don't remember. I don't think they would need the code because the codes are usually only for the live presentation. They would just need the link, which you would share.
So then you can switch, like this presentation that you just had us go through. So is there a setting where you could, let's say I'm done teaching this in the classroom and now I want to make it available on Google Classroom or like a class website, is there a place where you would switch this from a teacher-led presentation to a student-paced one?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a live mode. So when we get out of this screen,
Yep.
you'll see how that works. What you do is you go into it's going to be, you pretty much are just going to hover over your presentation and you're going to click the option. It gives you both options right above the presentation where it says live lesson or student paced.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Okay. So you do have the opportunity to go back. So if a student says they missed something in a slide and you move too fast, you can go back. Okay. So now if I'm going to actually close out of the live lesson so everyone can actually, if you're on your phones or if you're on your computer, you can close out that screen and you'll continue to see my screen. So you'll see what my library looks like. So we'll be going back to the main Nearpod page. Oh, before I do that really quick, I forgot to show you. You can do reports. So this is my work email. If I wanted a report of this presentation and what the answers were to my survey questions and to my quiz question, I could have them sent immediately to my email just by clicking OK for the assessment report to be sent to me. Okay. So now I'll go back to home. Once you log in, it comes up as this page, and this is my library. It has Explore. This is where you would look and you would find all of the lessons that they already have. So we'll actually go in there and take a look first. Okay, so you can look through, and this is actually the 50-50 lesson that I had put into my library, and it said it was for grades K to 12. You have what is Starman. The next one is Inspire Future Leaders to Engage in Civic Action. So you could download any of those, and they tell you whether or not they're free right over in the corner. You can go through. These are actually, this whole row on the second row is virtual reality. So my hope was that I could show some of you this while we were actually in the 512 class before I left. What I realized as I was trying to test this out, Josh was trying to help me out, is that you have to have an iPhone for the virtual reality glasses. And you don't necessarily need to have the Nearpod virtual reality glasses, but for the app, it does say it was iPod specific, and neither of us have iPods. So what I'm hoping is that I can bring them back to class next Wednesday, and that those of you that have iPhones can check it out if you'd like. So I had downloaded one of the college tour ones. So I will show you what it looks like on our end without the glasses on, but it's so much cooler when you actually are able to use them. And because we have a school plan for Nearpod, they sent us a certain number of the virtual reality glasses that we keep in the library. So I'll go back out. Oh, let me just scroll down. You have by subject, so you can look that way. You can go by grade. They do have some that are in Spanish. Most of them are not necessarily as far as grammar that I found or anything as far as vocab just yet. A lot of them are more PD. You can go by publisher, you can go by Nearpod specific, featured ones, top free ones, and top paid. And you may find some things that you want to pay for. I know a lot of the English teachers have found a lot of things that they actually have paid for that coincide with the curriculum. So going back to my library, this is the one I just did. So you can click live lesson, which would pop the code back up on the screen that I gave to you, or you would click student paste. And when you do that, they get a different code. And so they would use that code when they go in to join a session. And they, again, are completely able to go through the slides at their own pace. Okay. This is what shows up. So when you create an account the first time, that first lesson template shows up and it walks you through what you can do, some of your options. And it also has the getting started one, so you can watch that if you'd like. I have mine put in different folders. So this is my Spanish 4 textbook, and this is how I started using Nearpod. So I'll just show you. I must have been editing this one for some reason, but just click save on that. And I'll go into edit mode just so I don't have to provide another code. So every time I wanted to add a slide, I just clicked on the slide. You can open it. You can change the different backgrounds. So I just clicked on a different color background while I was typing. Because of the accents and the Spanish, I typically type my questions into Microsoft Word and then cut and paste to go backwards. You can pop the graphics in there. As you see, I have different graphics on each one. It's taking a little bit longer to save the slide now. So I just changed that just by going into it. So I can go back and put the picture that I had in there back. And there was a poll in there, and this in Spanish says, do you like to follow fashion or do you prefer to be original? So it's a poll that I do because it goes along with the topic of our Spanish 4 text. The very first chapter that we do is on fashions that come and go, and we talk about different actual fashions that people wore. We talk about different car makes and models. Okay. So it's as simple as adding a slide. If I wanted to add something to this presentation, as I said, you would go into add content, you could add a slide. I'm not really sure how Nearpod 3D works. This would be if you had a virtual reality maker, you could go into the virtual reality. So I do want to show you that before I finish up. I did go in hoping that the glasses would work today, and I went into, and I'll just try to do it as a preview and hopefully it'll work. I did Yale. And so it gives you a teacher's guide, gives you exploration questions, learning objective, and then it says, let's get started. So what do you really know? And that's like a Padlet. You would go in and put that in, finding your fit, identify 3 to 5 questions. So they're using the different activities that I showed you when we were in, where you would go into short answer or quiz questions or fill in the blank. And now virtual field trip. So it's going to move around and you're going to see that the scene changes, but it's so much cooler when you have the glasses because it's almost like 3D and you can kind of move around at your own pace. So they have all different types of virtual reality field trips that you can do. So this was one of the things that I was hoping to share. And again, I am hoping to still bring the glasses to class next week so that those of you that have iPhones can kind of check it out and see. It might be something that you're interested in. And again, you can see how many slides. Yes.
Do you have to buy those headsets through Nearpod, or can you get them? Do you know if you can get them through someone else?
You can definitely get them from somewhere else.
Do you know how much they were, just like offhand?
I don't, because again, when we got them, when they paid for their school-wide membership for Nearpod, they gave us, I don't even know, I think they gave us like 10 pair of the virtual reality glasses. But I know you can get the actual glasses in a store for like maybe 15, 20 bucks.
Okay. And sorry, just one more question. Can you search like anywhere? So like for example, we're doing a book called Night right now. Ellie Wiesel wrote it, and he's a
Mm-hmm.
Holocaust survivor. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to do like an Auschwitz virtual tour. Could I do that?
I don't know if they have one, but let's take a look.
Oh, okay.
Help me with the spelling. I think I got this, but
AU, yeah.
okay. And it may not because we were in the, okay. Nope. Unfortunately, it does not. But I wonder if it has anything on Night. Nope, unfortunately not.
That's all right. I'll make do.
And you can always create your own and you can always put it in there. I mean, I know that's more work for you, but you definitely could do that. Any other questions?
Library.
I'm sorry?
You could
You might have been
change-
looking in your own library when you were searching there.
Oh, aha.
If
Thank
went on
you.
to the store-
Thanks, Josh.
and also-
So hold on. So I don't want to search my lessons. I want to search from, where would I search from? Good question.
Explore?
That would be theirs. I wonder if, well, yeah, yep. Okay, search. Let's try it again. Now I'm screwing this up. Aha, there we go.
Sold. Thank you.
You're welcome. So these two actually are virtual reality. So if you had the glasses and they're free, even better. These two are free too. So you have all those that, and you don't have to necessarily do, obviously you can see that if you don't have the virtual reality, the screen will still move. It's not as cool without the glasses, but it does still do its job. So. Any other questions? Okay, I didn't do a cool Padlet or a dot storm, so if people want to put in the chat any ways that you think you might be able to use this in your classroom.
I think it's pretty obvious that I'm sold on this already. I'm probably gonna do it tomorrow.
And I have heard when you have something like a professional development that the quicker you use it, you're more inclined to when you hear good ideas. Okay, it says I have some hands raised. We got Chris. Okay, maybe Dom.
Yeah, I'm just too lazy to type right now.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
I know that a way that I've definitely seen this used is teachers, because I also have subscriptions to the program in my school. A lot of teachers use that data collection section of the program in order to do like quick check-ins or do nows, warm-ups, or even SAT prep questions. I know if a lot of the stuff is multiple choice A, B, C, D, it's a really instantaneous way to get that feedback. And a lot of people just use that and go right to the grade book based off that information and input it in PowerSchool right away. So it's a quick grade that is literally given to you right as soon as everybody's done taking it.
Yes, thank you. And we actually did have a professional development on that. They wanted us to actually use Nearpod, obviously because they paid for it, but they wanted us to use it at least twice a year. And so the suggestion was that we use it, you know, kind of as a longevity study and do the same one at a certain point. Depending on your discipline would depend on what it would be on. But that was the suggestion for us. Janae, did I see your hand?
Yeah, so I've never actually heard of Nearpod, and I've never heard of anybody in our building using it. We don't have, students are not allowed to be on devices from 7:15 to 2:10 without teacher permission, but the struggle is we still don't have student Wi-Fi, so even if I could say yes, and if you're not by a window, there's no Wi-Fi. So for me, though, I'm still really tempted, despite the technology limitation, to use this, like instead of building PowerPoints in PowerPoint anymore, build them in Nearpod, because I was thinking for unit review, midterm review, it would be awesome to take students to the lab and be able to on my website, put all of the links for the reviews with the interactivity and the open-ended questions and multiple choice, and students can self-assess. And then over time, as our school hopefully works out their technology limits, I could then already have these ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's a great idea. And I think because so much now we're thinking more about the students and how they learn. A lot of them, just like we do when we go back to Dr. Sponder's videos to double check something or make sure we did something right, for them it's an easy way to go back and review without us always having to end up tutoring or be after school longer than we plan to be on some days.
completely agree. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this.
You're welcome. Anyone else want to share? We got about 3 minutes left. Is there anything else that someone would like me to look up? Any features you want me to, Janae?
Sorry, I just have one more question.
No, go right ahead.
So when you buy one, like when you pay for one, do you have access to it forever? Or how does that
Yes.
work once you pay for one?
Yes, once you pay for it, it goes immediately into your library and you own it forever.
All right, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Janae?
Okay, well, last question, I promise. So if I bought one, am I able to share that with students, or is that only something I can use and show them? How does that work? Like, can I take that link and then say, hey guys, go check this out for an assignment? Or
Yes, absolutely you could.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my question is, why don't you sell some? Why don't you can sell them there, Charmaine? So
Yes, I don't think I'm that good. I mean, I have a few in there, but as you can see, they're not the greatest. So I'm still working on some things.
well, that's a good final project then, the capstone project. Make
Okay.
a few of those. Very serious. Think about it. You can do something in Spanish that would,
Yes.
because of your training and the work you've done here, that could really be outstanding. And everybody can. There's so many ways that you all can take advantage of what you're learning. And you're really into this, I know. So think about it.
Yes, I will. And this one, now that you say that, last year, I had a senior and she was the only one who was taking Spanish 5. So instead of having her do something in the book and be working by herself, since she was the only one, and I didn't think that was fair to do to her, and it didn't fit her schedule. So they had her in with my Spanish 4s. So it wasn't like I had one period just with her. She was in with a whole nother group of students. So her project for me was she pretty much created some of these for me. So I showed her what my template was and how I went about it. And she went in and did, I think she did the 6th and 7th chapter for me. So I showed her what I had done for the 5th and the other ones. So every day she would come in and use my computer and she created a lot of them. So that was helpful. And she liked using it. So she started using it for some of her presentations for her classes.
Outstanding. And thank you. I'd like folks to go and just give you feedback again. And we thank everybody for all their great presentations. And we'll see you on campus next week. Both classes will be on campus. So thank you.
Thank you.
And good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Charmaine, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
So how much was it? I can't recall if you had said it.
I don't know, but I will find out for you tomorrow.
Okay. And I'm trying to find these goggles. So like my donors choose
Mhm.
a bunch of the stuff that I ordered they didn't have, so I have like $200